Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moment people have to let go of destructive pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battle to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Today's guest is Melanie Gorman, founder of Crownsville Media, trained mental health therapist, turned SEO strategist, and creator of the Common Sense SEO, with over 20 years in digital marketing and background in coaching hundreds of professionals across your tango and along John Gray. Melanie helps service-based business get found, trusted, and hire online. Her turning point came in her final graduate school class when she asked her professor how to run a successful therapy practice and was told, "We are academic, we don't do sort of thing." That moment sent her on a complete different path. It's really a pleasure and honor having you on the show, Melanie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think just reading the last line again that that moment sent out a different part after asking. The reply
Yeah.
of your professor just it's really very funny. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
It was a funny moment for sure.
Yeah, amazing. So you asked your professor how to run a successful practice and she looked at you and had to head out. What did that particular moment do to you? And what did it reveal about the gap between being a trained in a professional and being able to perform in life from it?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I feel like college is great for
Yeah,
teaching you all kinds of things, right? You learn how to live on your
yeah,
own. You learn how to pay some bills. You take some classes, you become
yeah,
smarter, right? You become a little bit more of an adult. But the reality is like, if you can't pay your bills, how do you function? And I wanted to be a therapist because I wanted to help people. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I really thought, I don't know. I mean, I've met so many therapists in my life, and so many people get into the field out of a heartfelt desire to make a difference for the world. I want to make an impact. I want to help people, right? All that. I think it's beautiful stuff. But when the professor said, "Sorry, we can't help you run a business," I remember thinking first, like, how do I pay my student loans back? Like, that was a
yeah,
very real
yeah,
moment, right? But then I also, and this was like a seed, it took me many years to really think this through. But like, what does it say about how much we value mental health? If, I mean, this is 25 years ago, they were going to pay me $8 an hour, right? And I was like, your mental health is like the foundation of how you function in society and how you do everything. Feed your family, take care of your children, take care of your pets, be a part of the community. Like, all the things you wanna do. Like, if your mental health is not going great, right, your ability to do all the things you're expected to
yeah,
do is really compromised. And life is not easy, like, life is hard. And I feel like it took me a while to really put together that if we wanted to value mental health the way we say we do, mental health practitioners needed to be paid well, right? There needed to be plans in place for people to be able to afford therapy. Right. Whether that was insurance that was going to like shepherd people through, or if somebody was truly disabled, like they were going to have services available. I work for several different nonprofits now. And, one of the organizations I work for is a super rare form of epilepsy, right? Like I think there's 250 people on the planet that have this kind of epilepsy. Most of them don't make it. Most of the kids pass away. Like it's a very sad situation. That's devastating to their families. They need mental health services. They don't need to struggle to like feed their children. And I don't mean like put food on the table. I mean like with a feeding tube and stuff. Like they don't need that and feeling depressed and anxious and having no resources. Like that just felt like it was all wrong. And then, of course, there are people that can afford to buy premium levels of service. So to me, the big problem that was a highlight was services have to be accessible to everybody and that there's a spectrum. But if we value mental health practitioners need to be paid and paid well because they go through a lot of schooling and they do a lot of hard work to be able to be I mean, they're not operating on hunches, right? They have
yeah,
tools and stuff, right?
yes,
So when my professor said, "Sorry, we don't help you build a business," I remember thinking that fundamentally that was just a core problem with that industry and I was gonna do something about it, right? And so I have. Like, I've done my little to do something about it.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Mental health is how we function. Yeah. Amazing. So your first job after master's is counseling psychologist
Mhm.
was as a relationship minded salesperson at a dating company or teaching people how to date while you were
Yeah.
single and still figuring it out
Oh my
yourself.
god. It was so
What
much fun.
what did that humbling, oddly perfect season teach you?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I worked for a brick and mortar, so like an in-person, you'd go to the office dating service. This is before like Match.com or whatever they have
Yeah.
now. I've been married for 20 some years. I don't know. But so I was single and I was their relationship coach. It was before coaching was a thing, right? So this was in 1999, right? So this is a long time ago. And when I was their coach, they would bring people into their program, but then they would have them all come see me. And I would say, okay, look, like this is how you go on a date. This is what dating is like, right? So everybody does dating in funny ways, right? So the whole model was based on John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He wrote a book called
Mm,
Mars and Venus on a Date. And it was like a 5-step model for how to date successfully and to understand personality differences between men and women. It was men and women at that time, but like, just how different people dated and how they approached dating and the pitfalls that would show up when people would jump in and be intimate too fast or
yeah.
not at all or, like all the things happen. So it was so much fun and it taught me some basic business things, right? It taught me about how to package a service. It taught me how to sell a service. So as a therapist, like I don't have any of those skills, right? Like people come to a therapist when they're in need, right? So there's no sale necessary, right? So and it's if you're selling a book or you're trying to teach your kids to eat vegetables, you're in sales, right? All of us are in sales every day, all the time, right? But as a therapist, like the only clients I ever saw were like people in big need and they would come and they were ready to buy. Like they were like, "Hey, you have an appointment tomorrow or can I see you on Thursday or whatever." The rest of the world does not function like that. Most
Yeah.
of us have to like we have to figure out what we're selling and how to package it and what to price it at and how people buy. It's really relevant today with AI because what people are so afraid of with AI is this big disruption that's happened in the sales process, right? I get information, I research a company, I find their website or whatever. So learning how to sell was what I learned there. And I was grateful that it was fun, right? Because it wasn't
Yeah.
like I'm selling something I didn't enjoy. Like I had a great time doing it. So
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. And also, you spent 8 years out managing digital platform for Johnny Grail and 13 years running an expert division in Tango out, building
yeah.
expertise in an industries that barely had a name yet. What did learning SEO from the ground up at a startup teach you that no course or credentials?
Yeah, right. So so John Gray was I worked for him for 8 years and or 8.5 years or something, and I ran his websites. I had no website experience whatsoever, right? So I learned WordPress and I learned back in the day, right? And then when I worked at Your Tango, it was really about teaching experts who kind of self-identified. They had a website, they had a business, but now they needed to learn how to market. And Your Tango is a really big online magazine. And basically what we would do is we would teach people how to write blogs so that they could talk about the subjects that they were experts in. Really, this is the transition from you would have a brochure, you would have your business cards, and you would go in person and network with people to online networking and making relationships so that people would find you, which is how we do everything today, right? It's funny when you meet someone now and they say, "Oh, I went to an in-person networking event." Like most people don't do that. Most people are like, "I have a website, I run some Google ads or Facebook ads, like I have everything online and you find me that way." So it was a big time of transitioning. And Your Tango was a magazine, like a print magazine that became a website. And so they had to grow. When I started, they had like 50,000 visitors a month. When I left, they had 30 million, right? A month. Right? So, all of the things that happen when you're in an intimate relationship with Google, right? We had to learn. And it was a startup. So, in a startup, everybody does everything, right? Like, you know this, you have a business, right? So, like, if you need to find podcast guests, you got to put stuff out there. If you want to
Yeah.
get correspond, you got to do it, right? So, your Tango was no different. We all wore every hat. And What we wanted was organic traffic. We wanted Google to say, "You guys have great articles. I'm gonna send people to your website to read it." Well, that practice had some ups and downs. We had 2 really big penalties during the time I was there, which was hard. Like, I remember 1 month in 2010, we had 10 million unique visitors one day, and the next day we had 6, right? And it was a humongous pain to get out of that. So, but we all learned how to do everything, and they were incredible people that were just, they wanted all of us to learn it, so we did. What I've done with my business is I've taken everything I learned there and I bring it to the individual therapist or the individual writer or coach or whatever business. And I do all of that for them at a one-on-one level. So with Your Tango, it was just this little piece where we blogged, and now it's just websites and AI and so much more.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Great way to learn stuff hard, and it was and not hard in a like, it was just the unknown. So much about Google is just the unknown, right? We're in the
Yeah.
unknown now, right?
Yeah.
Who knows how AI is gonna recommend you or not recommend you, or are they gonna do it today but not tomorrow? Like, it's crazy. So,
Yeah, so true. I mean, and having to learn doing the work and figuring it out too when you don't know what is possible. So
right.
in 2021 now, you launched Crownsville Media Up. What made that moment and what did you have to quit believing about securing or timing before you were committed to building your own thing?
Yeah. So I had to quit a lot of stuff. I had to quit, the security of a paycheck, right? I had
Yeah.
to quit the security of, like, I had to quit all of that. I had to quit thinking I needed somebody else to help me make business and make money,
Mm,
right? I had to really make the full transition into trusting myself that I had all of the skills and all of the experience to be able to go out there and, do this myself. And that I had the ability to understand how to make good decisions, how to, save for a rainy day, like how to serve my clients. And really the big surprise to me was that it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, right? So I had been doing all this individually and independently at the last 2 jobs I'd had. I'm an incredible self-starter. I'm a total Gen Xer, right? Like, you want something done, I'm the person that gets stuff done,
yeah.
right? So so the big surprise was that I was able to do it. And I remember, this is kind of funny, like, I had an envelope, right? I'm a note taker, and I had an envelope that I wrote things down. I was like, I'm going to be okay because I closed this client. I got
Yeah.
this thing. I like started tracking it. And I remember thinking I had to quit doubting myself. Like, I had to quit second guessing that it was gonna be okay. And I had to start to trust that I had enough experience and I had enough evidence that I could do this. And when I stopped doubting myself, and sometimes I'm one of those people that, I don't know if you're like this, but I'm one of those people that, like, if I could put it in front of me, I can go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right." Like, when I'm nervous about this, but, like, here's the proof that I
Yeah.
am okay, right? And once I stopped doing that, like, it's just been
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to trust yourself and or
Have
into
to
the
trust you.
experience. Yeah, a
Yeah.
whole lot. Yeah, a whole lot to get unpacked in there. And so you name your approach common sense CEO. What is the nonsense that common sense SEO is directly responsible? And why does so much bad advice in this space keep circulating?
Gosh. So such a good question. So common sense SEO, which is really common sense AI and common sense websites. Like, I could probably do a whole common sense series, right? Is really making decisions that are smart for how you function in your business. The biggest mistake that people make is they say, "Oh, well, Bob's website or Bob's business or Bob's podcast is doing well because they are on TikTok or they're on Instagram or they're on LinkedIn or they're on whatever." And thinking that Bob's approach is your approach. The most important foundational piece of common sense is asking yourself, what are you willing to do every day? Right? What are you willing to get up in the morning, even when you're tired or you don't feel like it, and do? Are you going to write? Are you going to film a video? Are you going to sit on the other end of this podcast and do it? Your marketing plan has to match with you authentically. That's the therapist in me coming out, right? Your personality type dictates what is going to be easy and fun and what is going to be a total and complete pain in your butt to do, right? As a business owner, you have to do everything, right? And depending on your resources, You have to figure out what you need to outsource and what you're going to hold on to because you have to do it. Like, there are parts of any business that the owner of the business has to do because they're the owner, right? Or they have to figure out how to delegate in a way that they can actually allow that delegation to happen. I have to let people on my team do things and not micromanage them every step of the way. I might as well do it myself, right? But common sense comes down to what are you willing to get up every day in the morning and do, even when you don't want to, because you will do it. You like doing it, right? And then is there a business there? Right? Asking yourself, like, let's say podcasting is your thing, right? And all you want to do, you love being on the other end of it. It's wonderful to talk like this. You love having these conversations, but nobody's listening. Nobody's picking up your podcast. You're on Spotify. Nobody's leaving you reviews. You're doing stuff. Nobody's doing anything. You have to figure out what is that missing thing that you need to add to part of your program so that it can grow because it's not going to happen by magic, right? So podcasting, for example, is an incredible way to sell books, right? So I do a lot of stuff with writers. The John Gray thing helped, right? I do a lot of stuff with
Yeah.
writers. And in April of 2026, I launched a book with a client, really big, a very, very big process, big publishing company. Took us 2 years to do it, like a long project, right? She sells most of her books by being a guest on people's podcasts, right? So authors that come on podcasts that have a book to sell, that's a great way to sell books. So the common sense part is understanding where the business model is. And honestly, like, when you know yourself and you know what the business model is, then you got to figure out where there's revenue, right? And how you're going to make money. So it's all very practical. And the nonsense things, it's such a good question. Links are nonsense, right? Gary Vaynerchuk says this, we live in an attention based economy. And he is right. And what that means is that the thing that's the most valuable to me is my time. So if I give you my time by reading your article or listening to your podcast or doing whatever, I am giving signals to Google and AI and all the algorithms that you're a valuable resource. So the nonsense thing is just buying links, right? If you buy a link from somebody and nobody clicks it, you wasted your money,
Yeah.
right? If people click it and they spend 3 seconds on it, and you can get all that data in Google Analytics, they spend 3 seconds on it. Well, you've just told Google that you're worth 3 seconds of someone's time. So guess what? You get about that from Google,
Yeah.
right? Right? So the nonsense is thinking that there's a robotic magic formula that works for everybody. It doesn't work that way. The formulas, all the details are out there. It has to be customized to your personality, what you're selling and what you're doing, and frankly, how you make money. Right? Like we all have hobbies, but most of us are in business because we have to feed our families. Right? So how do you take what you want to do and align it with where people are hanging out and then match those things up. And then organically, people are going to find you interesting because they were looking for what you do, but they didn't know you. Do you follow me? Like the real magic happens when strangers find you because
Yeah.
they were looking for you anyways. They just didn't know you were out there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, this guy's got this great thing. I've always wanted to hear what he has to say. Right. But that doesn't happen by magic. That happens by strategy. Right. And by
Yeah.
planning. So
Amazing. That happened by strategy. And yeah, getting to know your personality and getting to see, coming out in the morning, what we love to get to do. And those things you can actually get to outsource to and having to kind of settle it to and knowing that which one make you money. So that at the end of the day, it can just be making things that doesn't make sense, hoping that it makes
okay.
sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So you work with therapists, coaches, consultants, lawyer, people who are excellent at their work, but were never taught to market themselves. What is the most common mindset block you see, and what does it cost them?
Sometimes the biggest block is just doubts, like self-doubts. Like, you remember how I said at the beginning I had to quit
Yeah,
second guessing myself, right? I see that a lot with people. Like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't wanna take a risk, I don't wanna make a mistake, right? In business, you have to take risks. You have to try things, and you can't I had this boyfriend in middle school. His name was Billy. My mom used to say, "Don't put all your eggs in the Billy basket," right? And that's business, right? You can't put all
yeah,
your eggs in any one basket. Like marketing is a pie chart. where you have to think about what slices
mm,
are being dealt with and diced through in every one of your different endeavors. So, and you have to take chances. And you don't take a chance forever. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to give it 6 months and I'm going to see what happens. And I'm going to measure my results and track what happened so I can make an educated decision to keep it or quit. And a lot of people doubt, they don't think of themselves as like, I'm not spreadsheet minded, or I don't like computers, or tech scares me. But if you don't have a system for tracking what you're doing,
yeah,
you'll never know what worked. And you don't have to go to the far end of that and be like hyper analytical and track every single thing. But you really do want to know, like, okay, so I did, 25 episodes of a podcast and I had, I don't know, like these were my results, right? This guest was great. They shared it. This guest wasn't. What did they do that was different? Like being curious about what worked and what didn't work without the anxiety of,
yeah,
oh my God, I'm a failure, or I'm not going to, if that energy is feeding it, you're going to be worried the whole time. You have to, it's almost like you just have to you have to be in love with your business, right? I love Crownsville Media. I love the clients we work with. I love the work we do. I love the team I have. I'm so grateful that I get to do this every day, right? And for me, this is the thing that, I get up on a Saturday morning and my kids are still sleeping and my husband's mowing the
yeah,
lawn and whatever's going on. I'm like, oh, we took my email, right? Like I get excited by it, right? And that's not everybody, but you have to be excited by what you're doing or it just kind of sucks. And if that's the case, it's never going to be successful. The other side is you're burned out, right? So burnout is the other thing that I see a lot with people, and they don't think big enough when they get burned out. When you're burned out, the bigger thought is, am I going to transition this so there's more and I get to do less? Right? There's a really great book out there by a guy named Dan Martell, and it's called Buy Back Your Time.
mm,
And it's it's a really good audible book if you want to listen to it, right? But basically what he talks about is this economy of scale so that you're able to figure out like what is the role you have to play and at what point can you bring in other people, and
mm,
really bringing in other people is to buy time for yourself so that you get to do other projects or other things. And that's important because we get bored, right?
yeah,
Boredom and burnout are not the same thing, and that's a mistake that people get. They go, "Oh, I'm just burned out. I'm so burned out." No, you're not. You're just not excited anymore,
yeah,
right? Burnout is different. Burnout is I'm depressed, can't get off the couch, burnout and depression are more related than boredom, but we mistake the two, right? So they're not the same. And you want to figure out like how is it that you get excited about it again? If you want to keep it going. And sometimes that means finding a way to bring people into your team so they do more of the stuff that bores you, right? So you can do more of the stuff that excites you, right?
yeah. Bringing more persons into the team so that you can do more of those things that actually get, yeah, excited. And I think it's really lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. And also, you champion for female entrepreneurs, navigating the balance between raising a family and building businesses. What does that balance actually require? And what do most people keep telling women to do it all get wrong?
Yeah. The whole do it all mindset is hard because I think psychologically the do it all mindset is really a ripple into where you came from. You know what I mean? Like I'm the first person in my family to graduate college on my dad's side, right? So I might even be the first person or second person on my mom's side, right? So, you know, feeling like you have something to prove is a big deal, right?
Mm, yeah,
And that is not that's not something our pride lets go of easily, right? So, but balance is really important because you're only as good for your kids or your partner or your business as you take care of yourself. And I think as we get older, it's important to start to understand. And this is like, kind of old school Myers Briggs type stuff. Like you got to know what feeds you and fills you up and makes you excited and what defeats you and pulls you down, right? And everybody's different. Some people, when my son just graduated from high school, right? I have 2 kids, and my son, when he graduated, that last year of getting him, he goes to school an hour away each way. Like, the sacrifice my family made for the last 4 years to get him this great education has meant less sleep and less time and less, right? When he graduated a couple weeks ago, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to spend some time like recuperating and then I'm going to get excited about something because I'll have more time. So your life has seasons and sometimes you sacrifice things for a while because that's the right thing for you to do, but it shouldn't be forever. And the idea that the only way to be successful is to do it all is a manipulation and it's a game that people play. And it's really getting to the part of you're not good enough unless you da da da. And you got to, for yourself, figure out like where you're going to say, I don't believe that. I don't accept that. I proof and evidence. And this is how I know that, this is good enough because my values say, I quit every day at 5 o'clock to have dinner with my family, or I don't work on Sundays, or I don't travel, or whatever. Everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
It's all about being authentically yourself, right? And
Mm,
owning up to that and being responsible to it.
yeah. This is really amazing, especially you have to be there for your children and that of your husband. I think having that from that particular balance could make it easier for you to face things other than giving into egos and proving a
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Also, lastly, for service professional listening now, who is excellent at their work but invisible online, what is one move they should make up this week?
So go to the internet and then pick your favorite AI channel and go find people who are like you that you want to be like. And all growth online is a ladder. The metaphor is a ladder. What people want to think is, I'm going to go from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100, right? It doesn't work that way. You go up one rung at a time, right? That's how you grow in social media. That's how you grow in Google. So, who is somebody in your profession, in your community, doing what you want to do? Is has a level of success that's not all the way up here, but that's
Yeah.
one rung up, right? That's it. What's one rung? And then go to your favorite AI and Google and look them up and
Mm,
ask for an evaluation of their business model, their marketing plan. Like
mm,
a lot of this stuff is out there. I did this for a client yesterday. They're a personal development seminar company, and they had one of their instructors. They had somebody kind of take their material, and so they were like, what are they doing with it? Right. And so I was able to go out and find all of this stuff online just by asking the right questions. So if you want greater AI and Google visibility, you need to figure out who you're in competition with at that same level and
yeah.
ask me questions, that are what are they doing? How are they marketing? What's online for them? Those kinds of things. But then go look at their website. Act like a consumer. Go be curious about, okay, so they're on Facebook. What are they doing? They're on Instagram. What are they doing? Right. So one of the things I told this client yesterday was this competitor has 55,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Mm,
They have 1,000, right? I was like, that's a big gap,
yeah.
right? So you can start to figure out like, okay, this is why they're ahead of me. And these are things that I would need to do if I want to compete with them. But I don't really want to do YouTube. I don't want to do videos. So maybe I don't care about them. Go find another competitor. You're looking for somebody that is, again, like to make this full circle, who is doing the things you want to do, that's aligning with how you want to market your business, right? What fits your personality type. And then how are they doing it? And what's one thing or a list of things you can get from that analysis that you can start to put into practice consistently? Consistency is the key, right?
Yeah.
People they do their marketing. That's why I have a job, right? They do their marketing in fits and starts. I'm all about it. I'm going to write a blog, right? Okay, great. I've done a couple of case studies on blogs. If you want to do blog writing for greater AI visibility and for getting off of Google ads, it's a blog or two per week for 18 months.
Mm,
That's the time. It's a lot of writing, right? And if you don't like to write or you're just going to use ChatGPT to write what everybody else has written, you're never going to grow. Like you have to get into it. So you need a plan and you have to figure out like what you're willing to do. So, but that's one thing they can do now. And do it on a regular basis. Put that in your calendar and do it every 3 months. You know what I mean? Just make a commitment to be in relationship with your business and things will change.
make a complete, commitment to be in a relationship with your business. And I think just having this singular part, being committed and being in a relationship with it, every time we keep saying things that are similar, or you could do different. Those who you love to partner your business according, and then do those research and see how you could actually do things differently. Yeah, it's really
100%. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your insight. So from our audience who would love to connect with you, reach out for your service, coaching service, how can they reach us and where's the best platform?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn, right? Or you can go to my website. I'm sure you're going to put this in the
Yeah,
show notes
sure.
or whatever. But my website is crownsvillemedia.com. And there's a little consult button. If anybody wants to spend an hour with me, I always spend time with people. So,
Yeah.
that's free. So you're welcome to, anybody's welcome to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Melanie.
You bet.
Definitely from our audience who would love to reach out, check the show notes and you're definitely going to see a link to actually reach out. Yeah, thank you once again for your reminder that excellent work deserves to be fine and that the common sense is the most underrated SEO strategy available. Is one this audience needed. Yeah, remember, being good at what you do is not enough if the right people can never find you. Once again, it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the show, Melanie.
Thank you.